My cold wife in the 10-year span of our marriage, my wife, Amelia, was a constant enigma, her demeanor always cold and distant. Those three precious words, "I love you," never once escaped her lips. On the verge of my death in a previous life, I chanced upon a love letter she had painstakingly crafted. To my utter heartbreak, it wasn't addressed to me. That discovery was the final confirmation of her true feelings, or lack thereof, towards me. The moment I was reborn, I wasted no time. I promptly called off our engagement and decided to assist her in delivering that fateful love letter. Her reaction was explosive, her face turned crimson with anger, and for the very first time, she raised her voice at me. "Ethan, who on earth asked you to meddle in my affairs?" Chapter 1, The fateful discovery. An hour before the elevator accident that claimed my life in my past existence, I was rummaging through the attic. Amidst the clutter of old boxes and forgotten memories, I stumbled upon a yellowed love letter. The handwriting was instantly recognizable as Amelia's, as was the signature at the bottom. However, the name at the beginning belonged to a stranger, a man who clearly held a special place in her heart that I could never fill. As the elevator plummeted towards its tragic end, my mind was consumed by a whirlwind of questions about this mystery man. Who was he? What did he look like? And what made him so much better than me? Chapter 2, Reborn. When I regained consciousness, the sunlight streaming through the window was almost blinding. My head throbbed painfully, and a foggy haze clouded my thoughts. Beside me sat my brother, Liam, his face etched with relief. "You finally woke up. You scared the life out of me. Thank goodness the people around you reacted quickly and rushed you to the infirmary." The sight of Liam in his high school uniform left me momentarily disoriented. This was Liam at 17, a stark reminder of how far back in time I had been sent. The warmth of his hand clasping mine was a tangible confirmation that this was no dream. I had truly been given a second chance at life. Just then, I heard the rapid patter of footsteps approaching. Amelia appeared in the doorway, holding a tray with bread and milk. Her expression was as impassive as ever, a mask that I had grown so accustomed to in our previous life. Memories came flooding back. In this very moment of my past life, I had overslept, skipped breakfast, and subsequently fainted during morning exercises due to low blood sugar. Amelia had brought me this very food, despite the fact that she had missed an important physics test as a result and was later scolded by the teacher. Back then, I had foolishly convinced myself that it was a sign of her care for me. But now, with the wisdom and hindsight of my 32-year-old self, I understood the truth. She had only done it out of a sense of obligation, a promise she had made to my father. Amelia's father and mine had been comrades in arms, bound by a deep-seated loyalty and friendship. When her father tragically died in the line of duty, her mother took the compensation money and vanished from Amelia's life. Seeing Amelia left all alone, my father didn't hesitate to take her in and raise her as one of our own. Living under our roof, she felt compelled to obey my father in everything, never daring to go against his wishes. From that day forward, she became my constant shadow, my little follower. Everyone around us would secretly joke that she was my well-behaved child bride. Later, when my father noticed the budding crush I had on her, he would teasingly tell Amelia that she would one day become our family's daughter-in-law. At the time, I had thought her silence was a sign of shyness and reserve. Oh, how wrong I had been. Chapter 3, A Changed Perspective. In class, my mind constantly wandered, replaying the events of my past life over and over again like a broken record. I made a firm decision I wouldn't drag Amelia down with me any longer. I was certain that if we didn't get married, she would be far happier, and perhaps, I could avoid that tragic fate that awaited me in my previous life. During the evening self-study session, the teacher ran overtime by 10 minutes. As soon as the class was over, the students rushed out of the classroom in a chaotic crowd. While I was packing my things, I noticed Amelia standing at the door, seemingly having waited for me for quite some time. Her head was bowed low, her eyes fixed on the book of mistakes in her hand. The soft glow of the classroom lights illuminated her, casting an aura of distance and coldness around her. We walked out of the school building in complete silence. Amelia had always been like this, aloof, indifferent, as if nothing in the world could pique her interest. Suddenly, I came to an abrupt stop. "Amelia, you should go home first. There's no need for you to walk with me anymore, and don't wait for me in the future either." "Why?" she asked, a hint of confusion lacing her otherwise emotionless voice. "There's no reason. You're free now, Amelia," I replied firmly. I then headed towards the back street of the school, planning to buy a few exercise books to work on improving my weak math skills. To my surprise, she quickly caught up with me. "Ethan, what's wrong with you this time? Is it because I was late this morning, or did you not like the milk I bought? The supermarket only had that flavor left," she questioned, her tone still cold but with a trace of something that almost resembled concern. The moonlight bathed her in an otherworldly glow, casting long, cold shadows on the ground. Her eyes seemed to pierce through me, silently asking what on earth I was up to. I tried to explain, "The college entrance exams are just around the corner, and everyone's time is precious. You don't need to waste yours on me. I also need to focus and work hard." Amelia froze in her tracks, a look of shock crossing her face. This was probably the first time she had ever heard me speak to her in such a way. In the past, I had loved nothing more than to stick to her like glue. She had been accepted into Yale University, but in the end, she chose to stay in our hometown because of a casual comment my father had made. At that time, I had been so naive as to think that she had done it because she liked me, that she just hadn't found the courage to say it out loud. Now, I realized how much she must have regretted that decision. After all, Yale was her dream university, and I had selfishly stood in the way of her dreams. Chapter 4. A new encounter. I stepped into the bookstore and carefully selected a few exercise books that were suitable for my level, along with a book on essay writing. When I went to the counter to pay, I realized, to my horror, that my money was gone. Puzzled and frustrated, I retraced my steps through the bookstore, searching high and low, but it was nowhere to be found. I couldn't tell whether it had been stolen or if I had simply dropped it somewhere along the way. With a heavy sigh, I decided to come back the next day to buy the books. As I turned around, I collided with someone, causing them to exclaim in surprise. "Watch out," the person shouted. I looked up to see a familiar face, Olivia, a close friend I would meet in college in my previous life. How strange it was to run into her now, in this unexpected moment. "Sorry. Fancy meeting you here," I said, still in a state of disbelief. "Yeah, it's quite a coincidence. This morning, my friend and I were the ones who took you to the infirmary after you fainted. Are you okay now?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. It took me a moment to process her words. "Oh, yes, I'm fine. Thank you so much," I replied, still a bit dazed by this unexpected encounter. I had no idea in my previous life that Olivia had been involved in helping me that day. Olivia bent down to pick up the comic book she had dropped and seemed to notice my hesitation and distress. Without a second thought, she took the books from my hand and paid for them at the counter. "I saw you wandering around the store earlier, looking for something. What's up? Did you lose your money?" she asked, her sharp eyes observing every detail. I quickly nodded, impressed by her perceptiveness. I told her I would return the money to her tomorrow, but Olivia just waved it off. "Just treat me to a meal tomorrow," she said with a friendly smile. We walked out of the back street together. The number of people on the street at night had significantly dwindled, with only a few students passing by here and there. Up ahead, we saw a group of delinquent youths smoking, and out of concern for her safety, I turned to her and said, "Let me walk you home." I then went to the garage and fetched my sleek black motorcycle. Chapter 5. Confrontation. When we arrived at her building, the roar of the motorcycle finally faded away. Olivia seemed worried that the noise might disturb the people upstairs. "Be quiet when you leave, okay? I don't want anyone pouring water on us or yelling," she said with a playful grimace. I smirked at her. Can't really keep it down. My big guy is just that powerful, I replied, a hint of mischief in my voice. But as soon as the words left my mouth, I realized how they might sound, and I felt a slight blush creeping up my neck. When I got home, I was surprised to run into Amelia at the entrance of the apartment complex. It was strange. I had clearly told her to go home first, yet here she was, and she seemed to have arrived even later than me. Amelia silently walked up beside me, and there was an uncomfortable, almost palpable tension in the air as we entered the elevator together. As the elevator doors closed, she suddenly broke the silence. Is that girl the reason you're working so hard? She asked, her voice as indifferent as ever, but there was something underlying it that I couldn't quite put my finger on. No, we just ran into each other. It was quite a coincidence, I replied, feeling a bit defensive for some reason. Her tone didn't seem to change, as if she didn't really care about the answer, but I didn't bother to explain further. When we got home, Amelia would usually finish her homework before taking a shower. While she was in the bathroom, I couldn't resist the urge. I sneaked into her room and, just as I remembered, found that love letter hidden underneath a pile of books. She always hid things in the same spot, making it almost too easy to find. I opened the letter, but no matter how hard I thought about it, I couldn't figure out who this Lucas classmate was. Could he be someone from her class? Given how cold she was, I doubted she could easily catch anyone's interest. Maybe, I thought, I should give her a hand. Chapter 6, Tension rising. The next day, I showed up at school with dark circles under my eyes, having spent all night investigating who Lucas might be. Math class was a complete blur, and even though I had been reborn, the difficult questions that had stumped me before still seemed insurmountable. It was clear that the gap between Amelia and me was destined to remain, a chasm that I couldn't easily bridge. At noon, I was about to take Olivia out for lunch when, to my surprise, I saw Amelia waiting for me at the door again. This time, she was holding a bag with my favorite roast chicken. I told you don't need to wait for me anymore. Just go do your own thing, I said, trying to sound firm but feeling a bit guilty at the same time. Oh, was all she said as she handed the bag to me. Thanks, but you really don't have to buy it for me anymore, I said, pushing the bag back towards her. Amelia looked at me in confusion, a slight frown creasing her forehead. She let out a small sigh. Ethan, what have I done to upset you? You've been avoiding me lately. It's not you. It's me. I've just realized a few things, I replied, turning to walk towards the cafeteria. But then I remembered something and turned back to face her, speaking seriously. By the way, when my dad said you should be my wife, he was just joking. You don't have to take it seriously, and you don't have to listen to him so much. Amelia, do your best on the college entrance exams and go to your dream university. Amelia frowned even deeper, looking at me as if she couldn't understand why I was saying these things. When I arrived at the cafeteria, Olivia had already found a table and was waiting for me. What's that? She asked, glancing at the bag in my hand. Roast chicken. For you, as a thank you for helping me yesterday, I said, offering it to her. Hey, no need to be so formal, Olivia said, waving her hand dismissively. But as soon as she caught the aroma of the roast chicken, she couldn't resist and took a drumstick. Once she started eating, she couldn't seem to stop, devouring it with gusto. Just as I was about to remind her to slow down, a cold voice interrupted us. No wonder you were so eager to ditch me. Are you two dating? Amelia stood there, her gaze as indifferent as ever, but I could sense a hint of something else in her eyes, something that looked a lot like anger or jealousy. Olivia was so startled that she nearly choked on the chicken. I turned around, feeling a strange sense of guilt, as if I had been caught doing something wrong. Wait, no. We're not, I stammered, trying to explain. Olivia seemed to sense the tension between us and quickly made an excuse. I'll go buy some water, she said, getting up from the table and hurrying away. It's not what you think. I just met her. We're just classmates, I said, telling the truth, but Amelia cut me off impatiently. You don't need to explain. I won't tell Uncle, so there's no need to avoid me, she said coldly, turning on her heel and walking away, her steps quick and angry. When Olivia returned, she quietly asked me, who was that girl? Judging by her gossipy expression, she probably thought Amelia and I were a couple. I briefly explained our situation, and Olivia smiled knowingly. Oh, childhood sweethearts, huh? She seems to care about you. Not really. Amelia can't wait to get rid of me, I said with a sigh. Chapter 7, The Revelation. On Friday after school, Liam wanted to try the new dish at the barbecue restaurant across from the school and dragged me along with him. This barbecue place had been around for ages and always had a great business. The roast chicken that Amelia often bought for me came from here. Liam ordered 2 portions of the special roast chicken. While we were waiting, I overheard the staff saying they were out of stock and discussing it with the owner. Mr. Smith, one of them said. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a boy in a school uniform slip into the back. It was the owner's son, Alex Smith. I remembered seeing his name on the list of participants for the English essay competition. He was a top student, always ranking in the top 50 in the grade. He had participated in numerous competitions and was academically excellent. It made sense that he would have some interaction with Amelia. No wonder Amelia often bought me roast chicken. Every time she came here, she got to see the person she really wanted to see. And she always seemed to be in a good mood afterward. I used to think it was because of me, but now I knew the truth. A wave of displeasure rose up in me, but I forced myself to suppress it. To confirm that Alex was the Lucas mentioned in the love letter, I approached him as he came out of the back. Hello, Alex. I'm a friend of Amelia's. She left something behind, I said, trying to sound casual. Ah, did she? Alex wasn't very suspicious. He checked his bag and said, looking puzzled, she just explained 2 math problems to me and lent me her math notebook. I don't think she left anything behind. So, they did know each other. I recognized the familiar orange notebook cover. It was one I had bought for Amelia. I used to ask her for help with math problems, but she was never very patient with me. She seemed embarrassed that I couldn't understand, and eventually, I stopped asking. Maybe I remembered wrong. I'll tell her later, I said, trying to hide my disappointment. Liam and I left the restaurant, and he excitedly handed me the roast chicken, but I had completely lost my appetite. It turns out that when you're feeling down, everything really does taste bitter. Why aren't you eating? Isn't it good? Liam asked, nudging me with his elbow. Hey, what were you talking to Alex about? Nothing much. How do you know his name is Alex? I asked, curious. My cold wife. Liam looked around and lowered his voice. Because my friend said he's the adopted son of Mr. Smith, so I remembered him, he whispered. I nodded, my mind racing with this new piece of information. It all made a twisted sort of sense now. Amelia's frequent visits to the barbecue place, her sudden good moods after coming back from there. She had been drawn to Alex, not me. We ate our roast chicken in relative silence after that, my appetite still non-existent. Liam chattered on about school gossip and his latest video game conquests, oblivious to my inner turmoil. As we walked home, the streetlights cast long, lonely shadows that seemed to mirror my feelings. Chapter 8, Caught red-handed. That night, after finishing my mistake corrections, I planned to memorize some English vocabulary. My phone lit up with several documents from Olivia. Ethan, these are math worksheets from my mom. You should try them out. If you don't understand something, ask me, she texted. Her mother was a tutor for an advanced math class, and I was grateful for the extra help. I thanked her and sent a funny emoji. Suddenly, the door to my room burst open. Amelia walked in with a dark expression, the first time she hadn't bothered to knock. Did you mess with something in my room? She demanded. She didn't specify what, but I knew exactly what she was referring to. A guilty feeling welled up inside me, and I wordlessly took out the letter from the drawer. "Sorry, I didn't mean to snoop," I said. "I had intended to help you two get together, but I didn't expect to be caught so quickly." Amelia's eyes widened as she snatched the letter back, her face contorted with a mix of anger and embarrassment. Her secret had been laid bare, and she clearly wasn't happy about it. Despite the bitter taste in my mouth, I gathered my courage. "I know who you wrote that letter to. It's that guy from the barbecue shop, right? Since you like him, you should confess soon. He's so outstanding, what if someone else snatches him away? Anyway, the college entrance exams are coming up. Afterward, you can pursue him openly, and you won't have to pretend to buy roast chicken for me anymore." "Who asked you to meddle in my business?" she hissed, her eyes blazing with anger. "It seems like you started dating Olivia and couldn't wait to get rid of me. You used to say you liked me, but you changed your tune pretty quickly." I was stunned by her words, not expecting her to twist things this way. "You don't like me. You don't even like me, so why should I put all my eggs in one basket?" I retorted angrily. "Yeah, you'd better not put them here. I can't stand the smell," she said coldly, before turning on her heel and slamming the door behind her. I bit my lip, seething with a mixture of anger and determination. "Amelia, I will never like you again in this life," I muttered to myself. Chapter 9. Moving forward for the next week, I didn't utter a single word to Amelia. My dad, assuming we were both just fully immersed in exam preparation, didn't pry. Over the weekend, I went to the library with Olivia to work on some problems. She was far more academically gifted than I was, her. Thinking about how we would be lifelong best friends in the future gave me some hope for what's to come. Maybe it was because I doubled my efforts this time, but my grades improved by more than 10 places in the monthly exams. My dad got a call from my homeroom teacher and was grinning from ear to ear. Amelia, who was making coffee at the time, overheard and glanced at me, scoffing softly. "Impressive. Dating hasn't affected your studies." "Same to you. Secretly crushing on someone didn't stop you from getting first place, did it?" I deliberately retorted, then turned back to my room to work on my assignments, avoiding her sour expression. There was only 1 month left until the college entrance exams, and I had never been more focused or detached. My mind was consumed by questions and scores, leaving no room for romantic distractions. Chapter 10. The end of an era. June came with its scorching heat, arriving hand in hand with the exams. This time, I was fully prepared. As I sat at my desk, looking at the test papers, a sense of confidence welled up within me. Even the final math problem, which I would have given up on in my past life, I managed to attempt an answer, though I wasn't sure if it was correct. The final bell rang, marking the end of the exam and, with it, the conclusion of my high school journey. As I walked out of the exam room, I saw Amelia standing with Alex. She seemed anxious, her brows furrowed as she nervously compared answers with him. It was a stark contrast to the cold, indifferent girl I was used to. Love, it seemed, truly was blind, as Amelia appeared more patient with him than she had ever been with anyone else. I walked past them without a second glance, heading toward Liam and Olivia. We had planned to go to the amusement park, karaoke, and Happy Valley to enjoy ourselves to the fullest in the time before the scores were released. I spent my days going wild outside, and my dad didn't even bother to rein me in anymore. The surprising thing was that Amelia called me every day, asking when I would be home. Sometimes, if it got too late, I would take Olivia home first. Whenever Amelia found out, she would always have something snarky to say. Like today, which happened to be my birthday. I officially turned 18. It was past midnight when I got home, slightly tipsy. Olivia was leisurely walking me back, and when we reached the building, she suddenly stopped and looked at me. "Ethan, how about I spend every birthday with you from now on?" she asked. It was too dark to see her expression clearly, and I thought she was simply declaring the start of our unbreakable friendship. Of course. You're my best buddy, I said, giving her a few hearty pats on the back. She coughed a few times, quickly hiding the hint of sadness in her eyes. You hit so hard you almost lost a buddy, she joked, and we both laughed. Just then, we ran into Amelia, who had come downstairs to take out the trash. She stared at us resentfully, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger and something else I couldn't quite identify. Ethan, it's past midnight. Why aren't you home yet? She snapped. Hey, you'd better go back. Your little childhood friend is calling you, Olivia teased in a low voice, then waved at me and reminded me to drink some honey water when I got home. Chapter 11, a surprising gift. On the way up in the elevator, Amelia wouldn't stop nagging. For the first time, I found her as talkative as an old lady. Are you done yet? I'm home, aren't I? I finally snapped. She stiffened her tone. Odd. Am I annoying? Didn't you promise me you'd be home before 10? What if something happened to you? How would I explain it to Uncle? Today was an exception, and I was with Olivia and the others. There was no danger. Even if I didn't come home, I'd have somewhere to go, I retorted. Out late at night and not coming home. Where do you plan to go with her? Just because you're dating doesn't mean you can act recklessly. Amelia's tone grew stern, and she looked entirely on edge. I glanced at her curiously. Why are you being so harsh? She averted her gaze awkwardly and fell silent. When we got home, as I was pouring myself some water, she spoke in a quiet voice. Today's your birthday. Why didn't you invite me? Oh, I forgot, I said. The truth was, I hadn't forgotten. I just didn't want to remember unhappy things on such a happy day. Amelia lowered her eyes, looking downcast, and went to the fridge to get some honey for me. After a moment, she handed me a blue box. Happy birthday. Thanks, I said. I finished my honey water but felt no urge to open the gift box. She hesitated for a while, as if she wanted to say something, but then she lowered her head and returned to her room. I didn't expect much from the gift she gave me. Every year in the past, she would give me character cards from anime, the kind you get for free when you scan a QR code on the street. Those cards were everywhere. I still had those cards lined up by my bedside. Reluctantly, I opened the box, and to my surprise, I was stunned. It was a handmade little boy with a cool backpack, resembling me when I was younger. The person who made it was clearly a beginner. There were 2 visible holes in the weave. She had actually made this by hand. This was truly a rare occurrence in this life. Chapter 12, Choices and Heartbreak. The day the college entrance exam results were released, my dad was with us as we checked our scores. Amelia unsurprisingly scored high as always, 698. When I saw my score, 622, tears instantly welled up in my eyes. That's great. That's really great. You've both made me so proud, my dad said, his eyes red with emotion. He patted my head and announced that he would take us out for a big dinner that night. He even took a screenshot of the scores and immediately posted it on his social media to show off. By the way, Ethan, which school are you thinking of? When are you going to fill out the application? My dad asked. I'm planning to stay local at a 985 university. I want to stay close to Dad, I replied. Olivia and Liam were also thinking about staying in the province. Good. That way, I won't have to worry about you being alone in an unfamiliar place, my dad said, relieved. In my last life, I hadn't done well in the exams and ended up choosing an engineering major. This time, I could choose to study medicine. My mother had passed away when I was very young, and back then, medical care wasn't as advanced. I wanted to do my part to contribute as much as I could. Amelia didn't seem surprised by her score. Alex probably scored similarly, so they could go to Harvard together. That's great, I thought to myself. While my dad was on the phone, Amelia suddenly asked me, "You want to stay here mainly because of Olivia, right? Do you really like her that much? What does that have to do with you?" I was starting to get annoyed with her. It felt like she was meddling more and more lately. Amelia stared at me, her gaze no longer as indifferent as before. "If you say the word, I can stay in the province with you too. There's no need. Your grades are so good. Staying here would be a waste. You should go to your dream school, Harvard. Alex will probably get in too, so you'll have someone to accompany you," I said. I didn't give him the love letter, she blurted out. Just then, my phone lit up. Olivia was calling me. As I was about to answer, Amelia grabbed my wrist, visibly upset. "Don't you care at all?" she demanded. "Care about what?" "Care about you? Who was it that said not to put all my eggs in one basket, afraid it would bring bad luck?" I repeated her exact words back to her. Her face instantly paled, and I shook off her hand, going to the balcony to take the call. Chapter 13, College Days. Olivia's parents both worked in the province, so she decided to stay here, and we ended up choosing the same university. "Great! We can keep going on motorcycle rides together," I said excitedly. After that day, I didn't pay much attention to what Amelia was up to. Whether she pursued Alex or not was no longer my concern. The summer vacation flew by in a blur. I spent my days hanging out with Olivia. We learned to drive and got our licenses, getting so much sun that we both got tanned. Amelia received her acceptance letter from Harvard and, without saying goodbye, left for school as if she was angry with me. The life of a medical student is incredibly busy, with mountains of knowledge to absorb. I spent my days running between the library and the classroom, and even meeting Olivia for a meal required careful scheduling. During finals, as I stared at the two thick brick-like textbooks, I was almost in tears. Olivia, noticing I had lost weight, often brought me food and kept me company while I studied. "Why do you look so relaxed? Don't you need to study?" I asked, looking at her enviously. "It's all in my head," she shrugged. I envied everyone with a good memory. Because Olivia often came to see me, our classmates started talking, thinking she was pursuing me. And I could faintly sense that she treated me differently, but Olivia always acted as if nothing had changed, so I didn't bring it up either. After the exams, I celebrated Olivia's birthday at school. But my mind was occupied with whether I had answered the pathology questions correctly. Olivia looked at the candles and smiled. "I don't really have any wishes, so why don't you make one for me, Ethan? Don't be so gloomy. From now on, I'll make all my wishes for you. Will that make you smile?" I forced a smile and didn't hesitate to make my wish. "I hope I don't fail any classes, please. I'm begging you." "All right. The heavens have heard you," she said, blowing out the candles, her eyes full of affection. Chapter 14, A Drunken Revelation. During the summer break, I saw Amelia for the first time in half a year. She had chosen to study law and seemed to be busy with various debate competitions and club activities at school. In the 2 weeks she was home, we coexisted peacefully like strangers, until Thursday night. Amelia went out with friends and came back very late. I was almost asleep when I heard a stumbling noise at the entrance, followed by a crash against the hallway cabinet. I got up and saw Amelia sitting on the floor, looking dejected and disheveled. "What happened? Did you drink too much?" I asked, about to make her some honey water. But she suddenly grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "Ethan, I ran into Olivia today, and she said you two aren't together at all," she slurred. "Oh," I responded indifferently, not realizing how much it irritated her. Amelia suddenly stood up and hugged me tightly, her eyes filled with complex emotions, a mixture of regret, longing, and desperation. "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me misunderstand for so long? Was it fun for you to toy with me? Do you know that She trailed off, her eyes red and brimming with unshed tears. I looked at her expressionlessly, but to say I wasn't affected would be a lie. But I only found it amusing in a sad way. Amelia, I explained to you back then, but you didn't want to listen. Now what right do you have to question me? In the heavy silence that followed, she seemed to recall the day in the cafeteria when she saw me sitting with Olivia. She had to admit it bothered her a lot, and that feeling had lingered, growing stronger over time. Amelia wiped her eyes and mustered the courage to look at me. Ethan, I don't think I can let you go. Can you keep liking me? She pleaded. Many times in the past, I had imagined this scenario, but now that it was happening, it was too late. No, I can't, I said firmly. Why not? She asked anxiously, gripping me tightly. Is it because of that love letter? I was immature before, unable to distinguish between admiration and love. I don't like Alex. I just felt a connection with him as a kindred spirit. Is that so? But I never felt your love. All I ever felt from you was impatience and indifference, I said coldly. Give me a chance. Let's start over, and I promise you'll feel it. Please, she begged, her drunken eyes fixed on me as if I were her last lifeline. I pushed her away several times, but she wouldn't let go. The more I resisted, the more desperate she became. Ethan, please love me again, she murmured, leaning in to kiss me. I panicked, jerking away and forcefully pushing her back. She crashed into the cabinet, and the dull thud shattered the night's silence. The pain seemed to snap her back to reality. Amelia slowly let go, her eyes full of sorrow and defeat. I didn't want to hear any more. I quickly retreated to my room, my heart pounding. Chapter 15, Clash of Emotions. The next day, I tried to act as if nothing had happened, but Amelia looked at me with guilt-ridden eyes. At noon, Olivia came to pick me up. We had planned to see the latest movie released today. She looked really pretty in a floral dress, but when she saw my downcast expression, her smile faded. What's wrong? Are you sick or in a bad mood? She asked, worried. Nothing, I said, reaching up to grab my hat. But she suddenly grabbed my wrist, her eyes narrowing. There were a few scratches, clearly caused by someone else. Who did this? She demanded, her police instincts kicking in. I did it to myself by accident, I lied. Olivia clearly didn't believe me. Her eyes locked onto Amelia, who was sitting on the couch, looking at us with a mixture of jealousy and defiance. Without a word, Olivia walked over to confront her. Did you do this to him? She asked sharply. Yes, Amelia replied, her voice cold and challenging. She had been watching us since we walked in, and it seemed like she had reached the end of her patience. Before I could react, Olivia lunged at Amelia, and I quickly grabbed her in fear. But Amelia, as if she had been waiting for an outlet for her pent-up frustration, started pulling Olivia's hair, ready for a fight. Stop it. Both of you. I shouted at the top of my lungs, my voice echoing through the small apartment. If my dad comes home and sees this mess, he'll have our heads. My words seemed to have a momentary effect. They both paused, breathing heavily, their faces flushed with anger. Olivia's hair was disheveled, and there were already a few scratches visible on her face, while Amelia looked pale, her clothes wrinkled from the scuffle. I quickly stepped between them, holding Olivia firmly by the shoulders and pushing her gently towards the door. Let's go, I said, my voice still shaking with anger and frustration. Forget the movie. You're hurt, and we need to get you to the pharmacy for some medicine. Olivia glared at Amelia over my shoulder, her eyes filled with hatred. She's a maniac, she hissed. I didn't respond. I just continued to guide her out of the apartment, not daring to look back at Amelia. As we stepped into the hallway, I could feel Amelia's eyes burning into my back, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of turning around. Once we were outside, I hailed a taxi and we headed to the nearest pharmacy. On the way, Olivia sat in stony silence, staring out of the window. I knew she was angry, not just at Amelia but also at me for not standing up for her more forcefully. "Olivia, I'm sorry," I said finally, breaking the silence. "I should have stopped it sooner." She turned to look at me, her eyes still cold. "You were defending her," she accused. "No, I wasn't," I replied quickly. "I was thinking about you. If this gets reported and you get punished, it'll ruin your chances of becoming a police officer. I can't let that happen." Olivia's expression softened slightly at my words. She reached out and took my hand, giving it a squeeze. "You really do care about me, don't you?" she said, a small smile playing on her lips. I nodded, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. "Of course I do," I said. "You're the most important person in my life." When we reached the pharmacy, I helped Olivia apply the medicine to her scratches. She winced in pain as I gently dabbed the ointment on her wounds. "From now on, no more fighting," I said, looking at her sternly. "What you learned is to protect people, not to start brawls." She pouted, but I could see the mischief in her eyes. "She bullied you, and you're still scolding me," she said, pretending to be offended. I couldn't help but laugh. "I'm not scolding you. I'm just looking out for you," I said. Olivia leaned in and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. "I know," she said. "And I love you for it." Back at home, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. I felt a pang of guilt for the way things had turned out with Amelia, but I also knew that there was no going back. I had made my choice, and I was determined to stick with it. Chapter 16, Persistent Pursuit. After the falling out with Amelia, she didn't do anything extreme anymore, but it seemed like she really did start to like me, and was trying to show it. Every holiday, she would come back from Harvard and cook my favorite meals for me. She'd also give me carefully chosen gifts on my birthday, National Day, and Christmas. At school, I watched her struggle with sleep deprivation, dark circles under her eyes from rushing back by plane just to see me. I only felt like she was wasting her time, but she seemed to care only about whether I was happy. On my birthday during my senior year, I was moving to another campus. Olivia wasn't turning up at the police station. She had been sent out on a mission, so she couldn't be there to celebrate with me. Amelia was in the kitchen, cooking all my favorite dishes. I sat at the table, staring at my chat window with Olivia, distracted. "What are you looking at?" "Dinner's ready," Amelia said, her voice sharp. "Nothing," I mumbled. I wondered what Olivia was up to these days. Was her job dangerous? What if something happened to her? "Hugh," Amelia's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I realized I was sitting in front of her. "You've been talking about her since I got back," she said, clearly displeased but also sounding a bit defeated. "Oh, sorry," I said. "Hugh, when will you ever look at me?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Let's eat." "This soup looks good," I said, trying to change the subject. Amelia sighed. She felt like she had tried her best, but no matter what she did, things couldn't go back to the way they were. Late at night, as I was about to sleep, my phone lit up. I saw that it was Olivia. I quickly pulled back the curtains and saw her standing outside, waving something glowing in her hand. I ran down the stairs, surprised to see her. "I thought you couldn't make it back from your mission," I said, still in shock. "Yeah, but I couldn't help it," she replied. "I promised someone that I'd spend every birthday with him from now on." She handed me a box. Inside was a glowing jar with my favorite sneakers, and fireflies flickered inside the jar, casting a soft, magical light in the darkness. "It's for you. I found the fireflies during the mission and thought you'd like them." "Thanks," I said, smiling at her. I felt like I had something important to say, but I wasn't sure how to start. "Olivia, I began." She seemed to guess what I was about to say and quickly interrupted me. "Hugh, happy birthday," she said, her eyes shining brightly. I understood her hesitation. Given the nature of her job, it wasn't easy for her to open up. I swallowed my words and changed my response. "Thank you. I'm really happy," I said. Chapter 17, A life-threatening crisis. While Olivia was on constant missions, I was busy pursuing my graduate studies. By the time Olivia became a team leader at the police station, I had just started my hospital internship. Seeing suffering and death every day was emotionally taxing. Then, one fateful day, several severely injured people were brought to the hospital, and Olivia was among them. She had been stabbed in the abdomen, her spleen damaged, and she was bleeding profusely. My mentor operated on her for what felt like an eternity. I waited outside the operating room, my heart in my throat, praying for her to pull through. Finally, the red light outside the operating room went off. I rushed in to check on her. Her face was deathly pale, and she looked so fragile that I was afraid she might slip away at any moment. With red-rimmed eyes, I silently begged whatever higher power there was to save her. Late at night, I was by her bedside, reviewing neurosurgery notes, when I suddenly saw her fingers move slightly. I looked up and met her gaze. "Hugh, did you save me?" she asked weakly. "No, it was my mentor. I only helped a little," I said, standing up to check her condition. I asked if she felt dizzy or nauseous, making careful notes. Only when I was satisfied that she was stable did I feel a little relieved. "You look so professional now," Olivia said, smiling faintly. "Of course. I've worked hard for many years," I replied. "Then I'll be counting on Doctor, your last name, from now on," she said playfully. "Don't say that. Just don't let me see you in the hospital again," I said, my voice thick with emotion. She smiled, her hand lightly touching my fingertips. After hesitating for a moment, she didn't hold on. A nurse came to get me for rounds, and I gave her a few instructions before leaving. Then it was back to the usual busy routine, but my mind was constantly on Olivia. Olivia stayed in the hospital for a month. Many of her colleagues came to visit her. Every time I did rounds, her friends would give me knowing looks, as if they all understood the special bond between us. But Olivia didn't show any sign of her true feelings, even on the day she was discharged. She simply addressed me as "Doctor, your last name," as usual. I handed her the medicine, explained the instructions, and then, trying to be casual, I asked, "Hey, Olivia, don't you have anything to say to me?" "What?" "That I'll follow the doctor's orders," she said, playing dumb. I smiled helplessly. I knew she was still hesitant, but I was willing to wait. Chapter 18, Separate Paths. In the following years, Olivia frequently went on missions, traveling all over the country. Sometimes, I couldn't reach her for days or even weeks, and I would worry constantly. Amelia, on the other hand, remained just as impressive. After graduating from Harvard, she landed a job at a top law firm and became a star lawyer within a few years. She was wealthy now, and occasionally she would send me strange but expensive things. Some of them I hadn't even had time to open, and they were all piled up in my dad's study. The hospital was so busy that sometimes I barely had time to eat. Amelia came to visit me a few times, but we hardly exchanged more than a few words before I was called away to attend to patients. Still, she was persistent. She always found time to contact me, and occasionally she would send gifts or meals to the hospital. Sometimes, when she was drunk, she would call me and repeatedly ask, "Hugh, what do I have to do to make you like me? Will you tell me please? Why are you treating me like this? You were the one who liked me first. How could you just change like that? I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things. Will you come back? Can we go back to how we were? Hugh, I really miss you." I would listen in silence, feeling a mixture of pity and sadness. But I knew that no one's feelings could change that easily. In all the years we were together, and in the 10 years we were married in my past life, she had so many opportunities to say she loved me. Since she didn't, it was best to let it go and move forward. Chapter 19. Another crisis. Time flew by, and I found myself turning 32 this year. In my previous life, it was in December of this year that I died in an elevator accident. I wondered if there would be any accidents this time around. The ringing of the phone interrupted my thoughts. Olivia's cheerful voice came through the line. "Doctor, your last name, my birthday is next week. What do you plan to get me?" I chuckled. "I don't know. This mischievous girl has pretended not to understand my hints for years, making it seem like we're not a couple yet, more than just friends. And now she wants me to get her a gift? Humph." She laughed softly. "The Bureau is planning to promote me. I'll be sent on fewer missions in the future, and I'll be able to settle down here in the province." "Oh," I said, playing dumb just like her. "Then this year I'll make my own birthday wish. It's a bit special. Do you think it will come true?" "Why don't you give it a try?" she said. I feigned indifference, but a warm feeling welled up inside me. Before we could finish the call, a nurse rushed in, saying the hospital director was calling for an emergency meeting. I quickly grabbed my notebook and headed over. The director announced that an 8.0 earthquake had struck, city name. Our hospital needed to send personnel for support. No wonder I felt dizzy at noon, it wasn't just my imagination. My name was on the list, so I quickly packed my things and joined the team heading to city name. When we arrived, the place was a scene of utter devastation. Buildings were collapsed, and the cries and wails of the survivors filled the air. My colleagues and I didn't have time to dwell on the tragedy. We immediately joined the relief efforts. Supplies were insufficient, and access roads were blocked, leaving us without many necessary medications. We all posted on social media for help, and Amelia contacted me right away, saying she could donate supplies. "Thank you, Amelia," I said. "How are you thanking me?" "Is this the only way you'll talk to me?" she asked. "I have to go," I said. "Amelia, stay safe and reach out if you need anything." Chapter 20. Trapped late at night, just as I was about to switch shifts with a colleague, a sudden tremor shook the ground. "Get under the table," someone shouted. I took one step forward, but the ground suddenly gave way beneath me. Chunks of earth and debris fell from the collapsing building, and then everything went dark. I lost consciousness. The aftershock wasn't as strong as the initial quake, but it caused significant damage. When I came to, I realized I was trapped underneath a pile of debris, unable to move. I didn't know how much time had passed. My body started to go numb, and I lost feeling in my hands. My mouth was dry, and I didn't even have the strength to call for help. The darkness around me reminded me of that moment of freefall in the elevator in my past life. Was this all destined? Was I still going to die, even after being reborn? My phone in my pocket lit up. I saw that it was Olivia calling, but I couldn't answer. How awful, I thought. Even after being given a second chance at life, I still couldn't be with the one I love. My consciousness began to fade, and my body started to lose warmth. Just when I thought all was lost, I heard frantic voices from above. "Hugh! Where are you?" Chapter 21. A new beginning. It felt like I had slept for an eternity when I woke up. I found myself back in the hospital where I work. "Hugh, you're awake!" Olivia exclaimed, her eyes filled with a mix of relief and anxiety. "How are you feeling? Is there anything uncomfortable?" I shook my head weakly. "How was the rescue? Are the colleagues who were trapped with me okay?" "They're all fine, and the situation has stabilized," she said, exasperated yet clearly relieved. She held onto my hand tightly, as if afraid to let go. "Thank goodness you woke up." She lowered her head, and tears fell onto the back of my hand, warm and full of emotion. "Did you rescue me?" I asked. "Yes. I couldn't reach you, and then our team was sent to help," she said. "Thank you," I said. "Thank me for what?" You've saved me before. We're even now, she replied with a small smile. Olivia called the doctor to examine me and then went out to buy nutritious meals. She fed me spoon by spoon, taking care of me like I was a child. I stayed in the hospital for a few days to recover, and Olivia didn't leave my side for a single moment. On the day I was discharged, I hadn't forgotten about Olivia's birthday. Confessing is something the guy should do first, after all. With the help of friends, I secretly prepared some surprises. In the evening, I waited for Olivia to arrive at the hospital. As she approached the entrance, rose petals suddenly began to fall from the sky. Before she could react, I got down on one knee, the ring I had prepared shining brightly in my hand. Olivia, I love you. I've loved you since high school, but I was afraid of interfering with your career, so I never dared to tell you. Now, will you give me this chance? Olivia, will you marry me? Her colleagues, who were in on the plan, showered her with more petals, and mine joined in the excitement. She froze for a moment, her face turning bright red, and tears welled up in her eyes. Then she nodded vigorously, blushing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure standing on the edge of the crowd. Amelia was holding a thermos, looking like she had rushed over, sweat beading on her forehead. Her face was pale as she watched the scene unfold, her eyes filled with sadness and longing. I will, Olivia said loudly, smiling through her tears. I slipped the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Finally, I had my answer. Olivia hugged me tightly, and we both burst into tears of joy. Wow, I've never seen the captain cry before, one of her colleagues exclaimed. You don't get it. This is love. I'm so jealous, another said. Is it too late to go back to high school? I don't want to be single anymore, someone else chimed in. That evening, I received a message from Amelia. Are you really going to marry her? Hugh, I've been with you the longest. Why is it her in the end? Won't you look at me again? I deleted the message and blocked her number. Then I turned off my phone, held Olivia close, and drifted off to sleep, feeling more at peace than I had in a long time. Chapter 22, Marriage and Reflection. On the day I married Olivia, Amelia didn't attend, but she sent an incredibly expensive diamond. When Olivia saw the gift, she immediately started making sarcastic comments. Looks like Amelia still has the mindset of a thief, trying to buy you back, she said. Then she had the diamond set in a collar and put it on my dad's husky. A year after I got married, Amelia was still single. Later, when Olivia gave birth to a daughter, Amelia was still alone. Even my dad advised her to find someone, pointing out how many people were pursuing her. She would quietly sip her drink, her expression dark and unreadable. After dinner one day, Amelia looked at the little girl in the cradle, her lips pressed together tightly. Hugh, she really looks like you, she said softly. Yeah, I replied. If only back then, I didn't finish my sentence, and Amelia didn't either. We both knew there were a million things left unsaid, but it was too late to change the past. Olivia frowned, glaring at Amelia with suspicion. What are you trying to do? He's my husband, legally. Don't get any ideas. Amelia sneered, a bitter edge to her voice that betrayed the turmoil beneath her aloof facade. Temporarily, perhaps. Life is long. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe one day you'll get divorced. The words were laced with a jealousy so potent it seemed to hang heavy in the air. You. Olivia's eyes flashed with anger, and she took a step forward, ready to launch another confrontation. But with the baby in the room and the rest of the family watching, she forced herself to hold back, her fists clenched at her sides. On the way home, Olivia was fuming, her anger palpable. She ranted about Amelia's audacity, her words flowing like a river. The nerve of her. Thinking she can just waltz back into your life and make those kinds of comments. I won't stand for it, Hugh. I won't let her come between us. She was so worked up that she seemed ready to curse out even the stray dogs we passed on the street. Later that night, as we were getting ready for bed, Olivia suddenly sat up, her expression serious. "Hugh, where did you put our marriage certificate?" I looked at her, confused. "Why do you ask?" "I want to hide it," she said, determination in her voice. "I'm not taking any chances with that Amelia. I don't trust her not to do something crazy." I couldn't help but laugh at her overprotectiveness, though I understood the root of her anxiety. "Don't be silly, Liv. She's not going to steal our marriage certificate." But she wasn't convinced. She got out of bed and started rummaging through the drawers, muttering to herself as she contemplated the best hiding places. I watched her for a moment, a mix of amusement and warmth filling my heart. Despite the drama, I knew I had made the right choice. With Olivia by my side, I was ready to face whatever the future held. Epilogue, Amelia's perspective. My name is Amelia. From the first day I came to the Ford family, I knew that Hugh and I would never be equals. Even though Uncle treated me well, I always felt a sense of obligation, a constant pressure. If anything happened to Hugh, I would be to blame for not looking after him properly. So, I always stayed close, making sure he didn't get into trouble, like a shadow that couldn't be shaken off. Everyone said I was his child bride, and at first, I hated that label. I hated being dependent on others, and by extension, I hated Hugh for being the reason for that dependence. He was always clinging to me, wanting to do everything together. I couldn't refuse him, but deep down, I resented it. I had to please him, to make sure he didn't get upset, all to avoid making Uncle feel like he had adopted an ungrateful child. As we grew older, something strange happened. He became more and more handsome, and I found myself stealing glances at him when he wasn't looking. When he caught me, I'd pretend to be aloof, scolding him for being vain, but it was all a front. I didn't want to fall for him, because I didn't want to lose the last bit of self-respect I had left. But then, in our second year of high school, Hugh confessed his feelings to me. A part of me was overjoyed, but I forced myself to suppress that happiness. I replied coldly, not realizing how much I was hurting him. He seemed disappointed, but the next day, he was back to his old self, clinging to me like nothing had happened. One day, he got sick, and the medicine was too bitter. He asked me to get him some chicken from the barbecue shop. That's where I met Alex. I saw him drop a freshly grilled chicken wing by accident, and his adoptive father scolded him harshly, calling him useless. If I hadn't been there, I'm afraid the man would have hit him harder. I looked at Alex's cautious demeanor, and I felt like we were kindred spirits. After that, I often used the excuse of buying barbecue for Hugh to visit the shop and see Alex. Those moments were like a breath of fresh air. Every time I bought the food, I wouldn't rush back. I would sit in the shop, and for a little while, I didn't have to care about Hugh or Uncle's emotions. It was a rare moment of freedom. Sometimes we talked about our families, and Alex would sigh, but then he'd go back to studying hard, like a resilient weed. I thought that I should like a boy like him, because only he could understand my feelings. So, I wrote Alex a love letter, but I never gave it to him. Deep down, I knew my feelings for him weren't strong enough, and it wouldn't be fair to him. Lately, Hugh has been acting strange. He seems to want to get rid of me. I saw him laughing and talking with Olivia, and I figured out they were probably dating. I was secretly pleased at first, thinking I could finally be free of him, but at the same time, I was angry. How could he say he liked me and then move on so quickly? Then I noticed the love letter was missing, and I instinctively suspected Hugh had taken it. I was flustered and angry when I went to confront him. To my surprise, he was calm, as if it didn't matter to him who I liked. That made me even more annoyed. When we were filling out college applications, I told Hugh I could stay behind with him, but he didn't care about me anymore. I was furious and upset, so I went off to Harvard, far away from him. But once I got there, I regretted it. I wasn't by Hugh's side, and Olivia was. Hugh stopped paying attention to me, and even when he did, Olivia's name was always on his lips. I hated that. I wanted to go back to the time when he was always clinging to me, when I was the most important person in his life. But no matter what I did, we couldn't go back to the way things were. Years went by, and Hugh and Olivia still hadn't gotten together. I thought I still had a chance, but Hugh was always busy, and he barely acknowledged me. No matter how expensive the gifts I sent him were, he no longer smiled at me like he used to. I was terrified when Hugh was injured during the rescue mission. I finally broke down and realized I couldn't wait any longer. I made his favorite soup and rushed over to see him, but it was too late. I had wasted so many years, pushing him away when I should have been holding him close. I regret so much. Olivia was right. I had so many years to hold on to Hugh, but I didn't. I let him down, and I pushed him away with my own hands. Hugh, I hope you're happy, even if it's without me. Because deep down, all I ever wanted was for you to be happy, even if that happiness means I have to be alone.